14 WILI and 95.3 FM presents Hometown Threads, a closer look at our community and the people that make it go. Every week, you'll hear uplifting stories from our local businesses and our neighbors. Now, here's our host for Hometown Threads, Keith C. Rice.
Welcome into episode 39 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM and Willimantic Today Facebook. Keith C. Rice back in here, and we'll get to our special guest in just a sec. Just a reminder, as we do at the top of every show and throughout the show, remind you that Hometown Threads comes your way courtesy of our good friends at Liberty Bank. Be community kind with 3 great local locations: West Main Street, Willimantic, Gateway Commons. My wife is the manager at that branch, Marianne Gargoni, and then across the street, another location, 679 Main Street, Willimantic, and then Route 195 in Mansfield. Liberty Bank, be community kind. J. Matt Rupar, if you wouldn't mind, say hello to the fine folks.
Hello.
Of course, Hometown Threads comes your way on WILI, 1400 AM, 95.3 FM every Tuesday from 5:05 to 5:30. And then later in the week, we pop it up on my personal Keith C. Rice Facebook page and then Willimantic Today Facebook as well. Pleasure to welcome in for episode 39, a man who's no stranger to these microphones. He's been on with Wayno a few times. John Adamsowitz. He's the owner of Bacon Funeral Home.
How are you?
John, I'm just going to ask you to move a little closer there.
Sure, absolutely.
Good, Matt? Okay. I guess he was fine. I guess you were fine the way you were.
Okay.
That's why we have a producer here.
Okay.
So welcome in, John.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you here. And we were talking a little bit off the air before the show started. The conversations we have before the mics go on, I tell you. So how long have you been owner of Bacon Funeral Home?
Owner of Bacon Funeral Home. This January will be 5 years.
Okay.
Since my wife and I purchased the funeral home, we took it over from the Sharon family who had it previously. So yeah, January will be 5 years.
Of course, Bacon Funeral Home, Prospect Street, Willimantic. I got to tell you, let's just, first of all, let's back up like we do with every guest here in Hometown Threads. Tell us about John Adamsowitz. You didn't grow up around here, right?
No, I actually grew up in New Britain.
Okay.
Born in New Britain, raised in the Berlin, Kensington area. Kind of moved around from here and there and within the state. Lived out of state for a while, and then we actually came to Willimantic, this part of the state, prior to buying the funeral home. So it's been almost 5 years.
Okay, so this isn't your first rodeo doing this, right?
No, it's not.
Tell us how far back in the funeral home business. How far back do you go with this?
This month will actually be 29 years.
My goodness, you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
This goes way back to when did you get your first job? And tell us how did you become interested in something like this?
I actually, believe it or not, I was actually in high school and I actually had a part-time job at a particular funeral home, kind of washing cars, doing yard work, things of that nature. Was exposed to it for a while, and graduated high school, went to mortuary college, and been doing it ever since. Haven't looked back. So.
Wait a minute. So this is so you could actually go to school for this kind of field?
Yeah, they actually have mortuary colleges throughout the United States that specialize in this particular field of study. So they actually.
Where did you go to mortuary? Which?
I actually went one year. I went to Boston, up at New England Institute in Boston, and then the second year I actually was down in Briarwood College in Southington, which I graduated in 1994.
So how does one become interested in this? I know you said you got into it at an early age. What drew you to this?
It's kind of two scenarios. One, typically it's family business. If somebody's family's into it, they typically will get themselves into it. Me, it was just I was always into science. I was always into kind of medicine type of thing. Being around it during my high school years, it just seemed very interesting. Dealing with the the anatomy part of things, and dealing with different types of people and people's emotions, and it kind of just drew me to that. It was just basically I was always wanted to help people. And then this is obviously one of those professions where you help somebody at probably one of the worst times in their lives. That's kind of what I like about that is helping people. So
it's got to be difficult too. As you just mentioned, dealing with dealing with death, with families and relatives and all that. It's how's that on a daily basis? What does a funeral home director do?
Basically, when somebody does pass, we get the call from the family. We initiate, contact with them, or they initiate contact with us. We set up a time for them to come in. At that point, we'll discuss any particular arrangements. If somebody's looking for a traditional burial service, if somebody's looking to arrange a cremation service with memorial service, we'll arrange all that with them. We'll take care of, transporting the body from the place of death into our care. If there's any type of preparation work that has to be done, we will do that as well. And then we'll coordinate with the local churches and the cemeteries to arrange those final arrangements as well. So we'll do all that on behalf of the family.
All right, so let's go back to John Adamsowitz as a teenager. You said you got into this at,
Hey, 16. Yeah,
at 16.
Yeah.
At 16, I was working here, and, well, hey, to each their own. And you just went down there and applied for a job at the age of 16?
Yeah, I knew somebody that worked there, and I went down there, and I basically said to them, I'm looking to kind of get into it. Anyway, I can kind of shadow someone or be around it. And they're like, oh yeah, come on down. So, they, after a couple weeks or so, then like, okay, if you want to come down, there's cars to be washed. Kind of like those, maintenance type of things.
Gotcha.
And was around it, and like I said, I've been doing it ever since. Just kind of went with it and never looked back.
And you were, before coming to Willimantic and taking over running Bacon Funeral Home 5 years ago,
Yep.
Were you at the same funeral home for all those years again?
No, I've worked at different funeral homes, throughout Connecticut.
Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I kind of worked in the Hartford County area. Worked for some corporate funeral homes, worked for some family-owned funeral homes. For a while, I did go out of state. I worked, in North Carolina for a bit, and I actually worked down in the Gulf Coast of Mississippi for a while.
Did you?
Yeah, and then came back to Connecticut when this opportunity came up, and so my wife and I, we came up, we bought Bacon's, and we're here.
So, where did you come from prior to Bacon? Was it Mississippi?
It was Mississippi, yeah.
So you kind of moved around like I did. All right. Yeah. So, do you find it in other parts of the country? Are funeral homes handled pretty much the same all over, or do you see like in Mississippi, you said North Carolina and other states, not necessarily in this region? Do they handle things a little bit differently?
Yeah.
Did you own those homes too?
No, I just worked for someone.
I just worked for them.
Yeah, I mean, the funeral homes pretty much operate in the same regard, in other states. Some of the customs are a little different. Some of the traditions are a little different.
Such as?
Certain religions, certain, burial customs tend to be a little different. But as far as the premise of the actual business itself, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much handled the same.
John Adamsowitz, owner of Bacon Funeral Home, Prospect Street in Willimantic, is with us. Episode 39 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, and Willimantic Today Facebook. Brought to you by Liberty Bank. Be community kind. Being in this business as long as you have, and we were talking about this when the mics were off and the mics and cameras were off, you got to kind of have a sense of humor at times, right?
You do.
Because you don't want to be morbid 24/7. It is a very sad thing. And we all know death is extremely sad. And it seems like just by, it's weird. Usually every guest, I got to say this right off every guest that has walked through here to do Hometown Threads, I pretty much know. This is the first time I've met John Adamsowitz. So I really didn't know what to expect coming in here. I'm like, oh, is this going to be I was even telling Matt, right? I was like, this is going to be a real serious show. Or before we started the show, you were just telling me, you got to have, so you must have some stories throughout the years. Feel free to share some. I mean, ones that you think are okay to tell. I mean, you've done this thing with Wayne before. What can you share with us throughout your years?
I mean, obviously, dealing with grieving families, there's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of grief. But there is some things that tend to be a little funny at times. I can't really think of anything off the top of my hand. But the way I kind of live it day to day is you have to put yourself in their shoes. How would you want to be treated? In a situation like that. I've had to, unfortunately, handle services for close friends, and actually I've done some for my family as well, which I've actually handled services for my own family.
Wow.
So yeah, it can be a tough thing, and I think most importantly is just getting them through that difficult time as best as you can, and trying to help them kind of with the grieving process.
Yeah.
And, that's why we're there. We're there to provide a service, and that's really what it is.
Well, you and what's your wife's name?
Tracy.
You and Tracy do a great job. I've actually, I guess you could say, worked some funerals with the Knights of Columbus. Mm-hmm. I guess is that the?
Yeah.
I've Knights of Columbus have done. We've done funerals at Bacon, and you guys do. You make us feel very at ease and at home. You do a wonderful job there. John, I know what I want to ask you, and again, something we talked about previously off the air. You mentioned that you and your wife Tracy live at Bacon Funeral Home.
We do. We actually live upstairs. It is our home as well. In addition to serving families and arranging and conducting services, when there are no services, it is our home. You know, at the end of the day, I go right upstairs, one flight of stairs, I'm at my house. So,
How big is it? Like is it like a little studio apartment or what?
no, it's an old Victorian. It's 4 floors.
That's what I've
so
been in
it's
there, but I've never been to your.
Yeah, it's a full.
Never,
You know.
wow.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of rooms. You know, the high ceilings, the stained glass. So it's all from the 1870s.
It's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's our home as well. Yeah.
Little side story. Again, I was telling John that 16, 17 years ago, my brother and I rented out a house literally across the street from Bacon Funeral Home, long before you and Tracy arrived.
Yeah.
So it's a cozy little home. Do you ever, you guys plan on just staying there, or do you think you'll eventually move, continue on with Bacon and move out of there, or?
No, Bacon's been around since 1916.
Yeah.
In Willimantic, and we want to continue the name and continue the tradition, and we plan on being there until. Who knows? We take it a day at a time. That's all we can do.
That's all you can do. We are day to day.
Yeah,
no doubt
absolutely.
about that.
Yeah.
So we talk with a funeral home director.
Yeah. Yeah.
14 WILI 95.3 FM, Willimantic Today Facebook. John Adamsowitz with us on episode 39 of Hometown Threads. What has been your favorite stop along the way? And where's all your family still located these days?
My dad's side of the family, they're actually in the Lebanon area. The Adamsowitzes, Lebanon, Preston, Norwich, that area. My mom's side of the family, unfortunately, they've pretty much all, are deceased. But typically down in the Norwich area is my dad's family.
Okay.
Which they're still around. So yeah.
I have a little connection with John and his family. The church I grew up going to in Lebanon, St. Francis of Assisi. Frank Adamsowitz.
Yeah.
What my father and I were just talking about the other day. When the rest of the congregation would say amen, you'd hear Frank go, amen! And we're like, oh, wait, what a tremendous family.
Yeah.
Now, you said Frank is
It was my father's first cousin.
your father's first cousin.
Yes.
So Adamsowitz is a pretty big family.
It
huh?
is. It's a very big family. Yeah.
And again, I grew up with Amy, and her older sister was, I want to say Eileen, or is it?
I believe it was Eileen. I'm not sure. I believe so.
Anyway,
I
but
believe
they were all they grew up in Lebanon.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you're like your second cousin.
They're like our second cousins, yeah.
And where's your wife from? Is she?
She's actually from Waterbury, Watertown area.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where her family's from.
So tell us how you guys met, and then she finds out what you do for a living, and how she took that. Tell us about a little. Let's go back even further. You tell us how you met, and tell us how when you first told her what you do.
It was actually pretty obvious. I actually met her at a funeral.
Oh, come on now.
She actually.
Are you serious? Like the movie Wedding Crashers.
She actually
Funeral
came
Crashers.
to a service at the funeral home that I was working with, working for rather, and that's where I actually met her. So she clearly knew what I was doing. There was no surprise there.
Wow.
And the rest is history. And we've been together for 9 years now. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she and she has a background. She does all the business and.
Yeah, she's got a background in financials, so she does all the financial paperwork. She's the COO, CEO of the funeral home, and I'm typically the licensee, the funeral director part of things.
Now, you being 49, you told me before, and I'm 51, so we're in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
Is this something you just? I obviously can see on your face. You've been doing it since you've been 16. You enjoy doing it. You know, it's kind of sad in a way, and not for you. I'm just talking about the. Just the business itself.
Yeah.
But do you ever see yourself going, well, I've enjoyed doing this for decades. I may want to try something new. Or is this something you see yourself?
I see myself doing this until
Good for you.
until whenever the day comes where I can't do it anymore. To me, it hasn't even felt like a job. It
Good for
doesn't
you.
feel like a job when you enjoy what you do.
I love hearing something like that.
Every day's different. It's not your typical 9-to-5 job, and that's what makes it interesting.
And it's very rare, at least the people I've come across, not just on the show, but in general, where you don't. It's not every day you come across somebody who has been doing the same thing, kind of like you and I have since the age of 16.
Yeah.
John Adamsowitz from Bacon Funeral Home with us here, episode 39 of Hometown Threads. Talk a little about the business, and is there anything else? Is there anything you want to promote or mention for Bacon Funeral Home, Prospect Street, Willimantic?
The business is your typical, funeral home business. We meet with families to arrange services when someone has passed. And we actually arrange services for people who want to do it ahead of time. When they want to do pre-planning. And a lot of people do that prior to the death. They want to have the arrangements done ahead of time so the children don't have to worry about it when the time does come. So we do a lot of that. But we arrange burial and cremation services for families as they wish. We take care of the preparation of the body. We take care of obituaries for the families. We contact the churches. We make arrangements with the cemeteries. And then if there's any, monument work or, headstone work that has to be done, we'll arrange that for the family as well. So we kind of do that for them, also.
Do you have a staff, or is it just you and your wife?
It's my wife and I, and we actually have an intern going to mortuary school right now. So she's with
An
us
intern?
right now. Yeah.
An intern?
Yeah, so
Really?
we're kind of teaching her the ropes while
Wow.
she's in school. So it's just basically us. That's it.
So you could be an intern at mortuary school?
Yes, you can.
Wow. I don't mean to sound so naive, but I never knew that you could go to school for this field.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
burials and cremations. Mm-hmm. There's not another option, right? No.
Burial, cremation, and that's basically it.
Yeah. What are you seeing most these days, and why? What's your theory on that?
These days, cremation tends to be the trend, that I've seen over the last, 15, 20 years. And I think partially due to, financial reasons. The cost is quite a bit less. A lot of it could be religion, customs. I just think things are, I think a lot of it is just, it's much simpler. Things are much simpler done. But then there are families that still go the traditional route with the, the cemetery burial, the services in church. But things change, and we kind of have to go along with those changes. We kind of have to stay on top of it, and just we have to kind of cater to their needs, and that's what we're there for. We're there to service them. Whatever they decide. So.
Are you pretty much, when there's a funeral? We see you're running the show? I mean, is
Yes.
your wife out there helping you? I know she does the business aspect.
Yeah, when we have a visitation, it will be Tracy and I. We're there at the funeral home. They will see us. On the funerals as well, it'll be her and I. And then, so it's basically just us. We don't, if somebody has a service in our facility, it's just one at a time. So if family has the whole building themselves, we don't do multiple on a given day. Every family is unique, and we take care of one family at a time. And that's kind of our motto.
And you also mentioned, I know it's sometimes up to the family to write the obit, but you guys write the obits?
We actually will help them as well. Yeah, we'll give them kind of pointers, and we'll help them out and kind of help them personalize it for their loved one, because every obituary is unique. It's not. It should be personal. And it's a story of their life. And then
Absolutely.
we'll help them. We'll help them do that.
It had to be, not to go personal again, but it had to be kind of rough planning services for. Was this like immediate family too? For
It was
you?
actually my grandmother and my father.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That had to be rough.
It was definitely rough, and it's your family, and you have to do the right thing, and you have to. It was personal, but at the same time it was rewarding, because I was able to do that for my grandmother and my father. So, but yeah.
What do you guys do? You do anything different, or is there anything that sets Bacon Funeral Home aside than some of the other ones out there, the other funeral homes?
Well, in this area, we're the last family-owned funeral home around. From the Bacon days. We live at the funeral home, so when people come into our house, they come into our home, and they're part of our family. Even when the funeral is done, months afterwards, years afterwards, they're still part of our family, and we consider them our family. Every family that comes in, they are part of us. So I think that kind of sets us aside, that we think so.
As we near as we near the end of episode 39, I'll give you, as I do all my guests, an option for any closing thoughts, anything you'd like to add. So keep that in the back of your mind. Do you ever give tours of your house upstairs? I'm sorry, I had to ask. I'm
No,
curious.
people do come in. They want to see. We actually do. People want to see the other room.
What's the square footage on that fourth floor? I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to get nosy or anything, but
total with all 4 floors, I think it's about 8,000.
okay.
With
all right.
four
'Cause I'm
floors.
trying to picture in my head. I mean, you're right. It is bigger than. I'm just picturing this.
Yeah.
I haven't been in there recently.
So it's about
but-
8,000 on all 4 floors, and we also
That's
own
beautiful.
the parking lot as well. But there's that
Yeah, that's
corner lot.
right,
So
yes.
that's our property with the barn and all that. So that's all.
Wow, is it
all-
really?
That's all. It's two building lots, so that's all our property.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you guys do with the barn and stuff?
It's pretty much just vacant. It used to be.
Vacant?
Yeah, it used to be a dance studio back in the days when
Wow.
Mr. Sharon had it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just vacant for the time. being.
Sharon family, wonderful family too. It's a big family here in the Willimantic area as well.
Yeah.
Anything more you want to tell us about your family too, and how you just tell us about your wife? Just she does all the finances and stuff like that.
Yeah, she does
Did
all
she
the
go to school
financial-
for that stuff?
Yeah, she went to school for business and finance. So she takes care of all the kind of like the behind the scenes type of thing. And I'm basically the guy,
You're the face.
I'm kind of the face when people come in. So we, have our certain roles, and it works out great. So
Some people grieve different than others.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
You gotta, it's just, I'm sure you've seen it, all kinds of grieving, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone's different that comes in. Everybody handles death in a different way.
And I know, back to mortuary school for a second, they teach you all about that as well. But what else is something in mortuary school? Am I saying that right?
Mortuary school, yeah.
Okay. What's something that you wouldn't expect someone like me who knows nothing about it? Obviously, we just mentioned grieving, the business side of it. What else do you learn that's when you're going through mortuary school?
And a lot of it is psychology, kind of learning someone's personality, and a lot of it's personality, because everyone is different. Everybody acts differently when they're in the face of grief or in the middle of grief. Some people show no emotion. Some people tend to laugh to kind of brush that off, and some people tend to get angry. Everyone is different. It's all in how they deal with it. We treat everybody with the utmost respect and compassion, and our goal is to kind of help them through that time as best as we can.
I'm sure you do a great job. Just the little that I've known John, you seem like right when you walk through the door, you usually, have a good, you can tell right off the bat, and definitely I can tell you're excellent at what you do. A few more minutes here with the owner of Bacon Funeral Home, John Adamsiewicz. Bacon Funeral Home, of course, Prospect Street in Willimantic. What has been, actually, take us back to when you purchased the funeral home from the Sharon family. Take us a little through that process, if you could.
Yeah, Mr. Sharon had it. The original owner was Mr. Bacon. He's had it since 1916. Mr. Sharon purchased it from Delphus. And Mr. Sharon had it for about 52 years, and it was time for him to retire. So we kind of took the reins over from him, and we're carrying the Bacon name and the tradition. And since we've been there, we've done some remodeling and some upgrades and kind of improved the facilities a little bit. But we kind of at the same time kept that old school Victorian charm to the house. We kind of kept that aspect of it as well.
You know what? Speak a little about that Victorian building, because you're absolutely right. It's probably one of the oldest buildings, I think, maybe in town.
Yeah.
I know it's not the oldest building. It's got to be up there.
Yeah, it dates back, we're told, I think probably the 1870s.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And from what we were told, the original owners of the home were the owners of American Thread. That was their
Get out! I didn't know that either.
Prior to becoming a funeral home.
How about that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of upgrades inside that building, off the top of your head, have you done since you've taken it over 5 years ago?
New paint, new carpeting, new lights, just your typical, just normal type of upgrades, brightened colors, replaced fixtures here and there. But the actual charm of it still remains the same, the Victorian charm of the house and the feel.
I was in there just probably a couple years ago, I'd say maybe even less than that, to do a Knights of Columbus funeral, and it's very welcoming.
Yeah.
You do an excellent job.
Thank you.
Before we ask you for your closing thoughts, anything else you'd like to add? I don't think I've asked this. What's been the toughest part of the job? Not just here, but throughout your career.
The toughest part tends to be the hours, because it's nothing. It's not standard. It's not steady. It's very erratic. We operate 24 hours a day, all different kinds of weather. That can be a little challenging, but like I said, if you enjoy what you do, it's not a job. It's a lifestyle, and I've enjoyed it since day one, and I continue to enjoy it every day.
Oh, what a thrill it was to meet you. Somebody
nice
who's
meeting you too. Thank
actually
you.
been doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We kind of have that in common. All right. Any closing thoughts? Anything you'd like to add? John Adamsiewicz, owner of Bacon Funeral Home.
Yeah. So we're Bacon Funeral Home on Prospect Street. People can reach us at 860-423-1234, or they can visit our website at baconfh.com. If somebody wants to come and take a look at our home, they're more than welcome to give us a call or stop by. We'd be happy to give them a tour if need be.
They take you up on that.
But we're there. Tracy and I, we're there, and we're glad to be a part of this community. So.
Oh, it's great finally meeting you. And then you can't forget the phone number, 1234.
Yeah.
Did you say 423?
423-1234.
And of course, don't forget the 860. 860-423-1234. The owner of Bacon Funeral Home, John Adamsiewicz. Pleasure to meet you.
Meeting you.
Thanks for coming in for episode 39 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, and Willimantic Today Facebook. Big thanks to Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind. J. Matt Rupar, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And in the words of the great Roddy McCumber,
bye for now, folks. Bye for now.
And that concludes another edition of Hometown Threads. Got a story for Keith? Reach out to him on Facebook by searching Keith C. Rice or email him at krice@hallradio.net. Don't forget to tune in next week on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, as well as the Willimantic Today page on Facebook.